mind control is a sliding scale from the kind of torturous, robotic MK Ultra mind control I experienced to information control. We all formulate our thoughts, opinions, and ultimately our actions based on what we know. We need to know our knowledge base has been deliberately altered a long, long time to keep us looking outside ourselves to authority, to big government, big pharma, big tech, big cult religion to tell us how to live our lives. We have forgotten to go within where we have all the answers, we have all the strength, we have the resiliency, and where we had knowledge that is our defense against mind control. That knowledge needs to be renewed. People need to have that information again so that they recognize exactly what's going on around them in our world.
Hey, Inspired Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers, it's John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in to another inspired conversation, one that I've truly been looking forward to. Our guest today is someone many of you already know, and many of you will never forget once you truly hear her. Cathy O'Brien is one of the most remarkable human beings we have ever met. She's a survivor, a whistleblower, and a living testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Cathy has spent decades speaking out about her MK Ultra victimization, programs designed to fracture the human mind, erase identity, and sever the soul from its own inner authority. And yet, she is still standing. More than that, she is whole. Her newest books, Resolutions and Align with the Divine, speak about the power of integration, of reclaiming the soul, about resolving the fragmentation imposed on humanity, whether through abuse, conditioning, or the quieter, socially accepted forms of mind control we all live inside of. Cathy doesn't speak as someone trapped in the past. She speaks as someone who has resolved it. This conversation is about what happens after survival. It's about how the human spirit restores itself, how truth, when faced fully, becomes freeing instead of overwhelming. If you're looking for empowerment, for grounding, and for a reminder of what cannot be broken in a human being, then this conversation is for you. Please welcome with me our dear friend, Cathy O'Brien. It's wonderful to have you back.
Thank you. It's just great. It's great being back. And wow, what an introduction. That's just so beautifully stated.
Well, you know, it's you who, and your story and your truth and what you've shared over the years. And Cathy, you are, in the eyes of those who have done even a little bit of research, you are one of those pivotal names and figures in the whistleblower and truth community, because you have brought so much light to the conversation of mind control, of abuse, of systemic abuse, of what dark forces have done to humanity for such a long time. But more importantly, you have shown what is possible through healing and through coming to the other side of this, truly the resilience of the human spirit. For those who are not fully familiar with your story, those who don't know exactly the background, you came out in the 90s and introduced the world to something they couldn't believe back then. It was so unbelievable that most people just buried their head in the sand and said, that can't be true. What has changed since? Like, what have you observed, especially in the last years, with awareness around this subject? How do you feel about it today?
Wow. After speaking out for over 35 years on mind control and healing from it, it's been quite a journey seeing people wake up to have a point of reference for understanding the information, because mind control is a sliding scale from the kind of torturous, robotic MK Ultra mind control I experienced to information control. We all formulate our thoughts, opinions, and ultimately our actions based on what we know. And we need to know our knowledge base has been deliberately altered a long, long time to keep us looking outside ourselves to authority, to big government, big pharma, big tech, big cult religion to tell us how to live our lives. We have forgotten to go within where we have all the answers, we have all the strength, we have the resiliency, and where we had knowledge that is our defense against mind control. That knowledge needs to be renewed. People need to have that information again so that they recognize exactly what's going on around them in our world. In 2020, mind control masked as a virus was unleashed on the global population. And people everywhere got a taste of what mind control is. And so many people now are in deep regret and guilt and horror that they complied and masked up their kids, causing identity disorder and limiting oxygen to their brain necessary for critical analysis free thought. It's caused problems in a generation, ones that were led by the fear of not complying, because if you don't comply, grandma will die. Well, that's just an old mind manipulation trick, forever threatening the lives of those that we love. So people regret having got the injection and seeing the results of what that has brought about. And they're realizing, I didn't want to do that. Why did I do that? It's because the most basic form of mind control is repetition. How many times did the controlled media tell us to mask up, social distance, get the injection? That programmed the subconscious mind. It was everywhere we looked, everywhere we went, even when we went in the grocery stores, it was coming over the intercom. Mask up, social distance, get the injection. Well, by programming the subconscious mind, if the conscious mind is frozen in fear, the subconscious mind is wide open to being easily led and manipulated. So the information just goes in. Once it's in the subconscious, that it drives our conscious thoughts and ultimately our actions. So people ended up complying with mind control. And once they realize that's what happened and realize that they're not responsible for what they're programmed to do under mind control, but now that they're aware, they're responsible for all their actions going forward, which means don't comply ever again. So people need to have a full understanding of what happened in order to grasp the information. For me, it's a vast difference speaking out today versus 1990, when I first began speaking out on my daughter Kelly's behalf. It was love for her that compelled me to speak out to begin with and raise awareness on mind control and the corruption in our system that allows it to perpetuate through the corrupt child protective services and everything else. So speaking out back then was brand new information. And it's a good thing I had healed from within myself, because I didn't need validation from everybody else. It wasn't why I was speaking out. But now everybody gets it, they understand it, and they also realize that I have been speaking out for over 35 years. My testimony has been the same. I have not been triggered back in. I cannot be triggered. And they realize, wow, we have an ability to heal from whatever level of manipulation we have endured in life. No matter what happens to us in life, it's not who we are. Who we are is still within us, divinely protected, waiting to be freed as we reclaim our free thought, free will. So having a voice now is it's so exciting. I'm so happy that people are receptive to the information, not only to face the reality of what mind control is, but to know that we all have defense against it going forward when we evolve with the knowledge.
When it comes to awareness, some things have fundamentally changed since you survived and broke free and healed from the program. One of the things is the internet, of course, that wasn't around back then, and that opened a whole new door to mind control people. What should people be aware of today? What are the signs today? How can they become aware of those things that's beyond the old mass media, specifically with the internet?
The formula for mind control is the same, whether it's of an individual, a nation, a classroom, a military, or the world. And trauma is the basis of it. The formula for mind control is a scientific formula that was imported into the US in the wake of World War II, when we imported the Nazi and fascist scientists into the US through Project Paperclip. Anyone can research that for themselves. With these scientists came the formula for mind control, and trauma, like I said, is the basis of it. And it was found in Himmler research. There's no trauma more horrific on the human mind than sexual abuse of a child prior to age 5 while the brain is still forming. When we understand that one thing, we understand that this pedophile agenda is a mind control agenda. There's a globalist agenda in place to dumb down the population into compliance, and with their agenda of aligning us with artificial intelligence. In order to be aligned with artificial intelligence, we have to be dumbed down because we have wisdom. You know, we're brilliant otherwise. And that is ultimately what the plan is. In order to dumb us down, neuron pathways in the brain need to be shut down. When we understand our own mind-brain function, we realize that anytime trauma occurs, neuron pathways shut down in the brain. When a national trauma occurs, it's like the conscious mind freezes in fright and leaves the subconscious wide open to being easily led and manipulated. These perpetrators of this globalist agenda want our neuron pathways shut down. We want them open. We want them firing properly. We want our brilliant brains working at full capacity. You know, so when we understand that the components of mind control also include sleep, food, and water deprivation, it's easy to see how we're working 9 to 5, 5 to 9, absolutely exhausted, not getting enough rest to put food on the table that's been genetically altered and bioengineered to starve our brains, and the water that we're drinking tainted with fluoride and chemicals in order to starve our brains more. Anything that's shutting down those neuron pathways in our brain is counterproductive to our free thought, free will, soul expression. It's counterproductive to us living the brilliant lives that we're intended to be living. And it makes us more compliant with their agenda. So being aware of that is key to being able to reclaim our free thought and get our brains firing again.
In terms of the perpetrators, how has that developed over the years? Do you feel there is a crack in the power structure at all? Do you feel that they're losing power, gaining power? Where do you think we are on this scale?
I think we've got the victory. We've been blessed with a victory within us all along. We just need to realize it and claim it. You know, because these perpetrators. I was used on a White House, Pentagon level, deep in the Washington, D.C. swamp, among these global perpetrators of this slave society agenda. And they do not like us. They are not like us. And they're using mind control on us in order to manipulate us in down low enough to their level. Their greatest fear, having been around them, is the strength of the human spirit and the infinite power of love. Because they're just a dark, negative, low vibration energy force that feeds off of low vibration, dark, negative energy. That's why they feed off of trauma, fear, division. It's anything they can impose on humanity that takes us away from the divine beings that we are, because they fear that so much. There's such a low vibration, they can't touch it because the strength of the human spirit is such a high vibration. The infinite power of love, high vibration, and they can't touch it. The only thing they can do is use traumatic mind control to shut down neuron pathways in our brain to stop us from thinking to access the strength of the human spirit and the infinite power of love. So in that regard, mind control is a spiritual warfare, and it's one that we've got the victory within us when we remember who we are, why we're here, and reclaim our free thought. My experience in MK Ultra mind control taught me that without free thought, there's no free will. Without free will, there's no soul expression. Without soul expression, we lose our moral compass. We lose discernment of truth. We lose compassion for each other. We lose our ability to go within ourselves and align with the divine within, gather that strength of spirit, that infinite power of love, and live our life's purpose the way that it's intended to be lived. And that's why mind control is being used, is to stop us from being able to live that.
Quick pause because this really matters. Folks, we don't just have an obesity crisis, we have a malnutrition crisis. Most people are actually starving at the cellular level and they don't know it. The mass produced foods simply don't have enough nutrients in them. So you stay hungry, you have those cravings, and you keep eating. This is where Green 85 by Chemical Free Body comes in. We drink it 2 times a day, and it makes all the difference because it floods our body with nutrients and our cells are actually nourished. This is where the cravings come down, you stop being hungry, and most people notice that they spend a lot less at the grocery store as well. If you want to give it a try, please visit chemicalfreebody.com/inspired. Cathy, you spoke about the essential importance of free thought, which a lot of people never think about. You know, they don't even consider that their thought might not be free. You were born into a multi-generational incest abuse family and then sold into the MK Ultra program. And you said that into your late 20s, into your early 30s, you did not have free thought whatsoever, and yet you healed and became an accomplished speaker and author of books like your latest, Align with the Divine. And oftentimes people feel like when they themselves have experienced such horrific things that there is no healing. What was the turning point for you? What did you do? What did you do specifically to initiate that healing journey? And how did you come out of it on the side that you're on now?
Well, fortunately for me, an intelligence insider working the highest levels of intelligence mind sciences to preserve the sanctity of free thought, Mark Phillips, was appalled to see how mind control was being used on the global population, how the blackmail operations using children, the blackmail videos were compromising judges and politicians and people in positions of power. He saw how drug and human trafficking was funding the globalist agenda. He found our birthright information on mind brain function buried under national security. The National Security Act went into place in 1947 after we brought the Nazi and fascist scientists into the US. It's the same year the CIA was born. So this information on our mind brain function was buried so that we couldn't think to have a defense against mind control that's been creeping into society for generations now. It had been found in Himmler research that after 3 generations, any knowledge base, abuse base, or belief system becomes autogenic in the brain. It's genetically passed down. And likewise, if information's suppressed, it's not passed down anymore. And people have forgotten our own mind-brain functions so that they're conditioned to look outside themselves to big pharma or, to tell them about it. When in fact, we just have so much resiliency of body, mind, and spirit within us, but that was buried under national security. And Mark was livid. He was livid that that was happening. When he saw little children being taken in and out of the White House, that was when he decided he was going to have to do something about it. Mark was bound by laws of sedition from talking about it, but he could take action, and he did. And fortunately for me, he lifted my daughter and me right out of the Washington, D.C. human trafficking swamp and handed me keys to my own mind, that birthright information. Well, by the time Mark came along, after 30 years of robotic MK Ultra mind control, being imposed on various DARPA, NASA, and military installations, I didn't even know good people existed in the world anymore. I didn't have a capacity to understand that. But just like when my father's sexual abuse of me began in infancy, before I could think to know what he was doing was wrong, my brain knew it was wrong. My brain knew I was enduring pain and suffocation. So it shut down neuron pathways in the brain, repressed that memory deep into the subconscious so the rest of the mind could develop and function normally. That's the mind's sane defense to trauma too horrible to comprehend. It was incomprehensible, especially to an infant. But we have that defense mechanisms. Our brains have been made perfect. Our brains have also been made so perfect that when we are safe, the brain also knows it. And that is when the neuron pathways can start opening back up and that repressed memory coming forward where it can be dealt with logically and so that healing can happen. So when Mark rescued me, I didn't have a clue that goodness existed, and yet my brain knew, and the neuron pathways started opening, and I still didn't really know to trust Mark, except for the fact that when he rescued my daughter Kelly and me right out of our victimization, he also rescued our cows and horses and guineas and chickens and dogs and cats, because Mark knew that people who abuse children abuse animals and vice versa. It's like no regard for life at all. So he knew that rescuing our animals was as important. Well, I was since I had lost my free thought and been tortured so much, I'd been blasted into primitive parts of my brain, where I have heightened senses, heightened intuition, heightened capacity for sensing vibrational frequency, telepathy, all those kind of psychic intuitions and capabilities that we're all capable of. We don't have to experience trauma to access it. We just need to remember it's there, which is what so much of a line with the divine is all about, is reminding us of this amazing capacity that we have. Well, I was so telepathic. I had my horse that would come up to me, and anytime this back under mind control, if I needed to get across the farm, she'd just walk up to me and stand in front of me. I'd jump on, no bridle, no saddle, no words, nothing. We would go do whatever, and that's how we interacted all that time. If my handler came around, my MK Ultra handler, who was very torturous and abusive to the animals, she would run from him as fast as she possibly could. When Mark came in to rescue us, my horse walked up to him, took one look at him, and loaded herself on the trailer. And that
It's
just told
incredible.
me everything I needed to know about trust. And I learned to trust because of that capacity, that connection that I had with my horse, and the fact that Mark was so wise. He knew to rescue the animals, and they really showed me the way to trust. So I listened to what he had to say from that point going forward on how to heal from the trauma and open the neuron pathways in my brain.
That's incredible. And for anyone who knows horses knows how incredible that reaction is, and how telling it is. Cathy, your newest book, Align with the Divine. Let's talk about that. What inspired you to write it? What's it about? What do you want to tell people with it?
Well, the methods that Mark taught me for healing were to write out memory, because now that the memory was leaking out and it was like intruding on my present, and I started remembering the things I'd been tortured to forget, he told me to write it out. He said, because the very act of moving a pen activates the logic, critical analysis part of the brain. So it takes that emotionally incomprehensible repressed trauma, shifts it over to the logic part of the brain where it's written out on paper, consciously seen, and all of a sudden healing happens psychiatrically, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, everything all at once from that one simple little brain trick. It's such an important brain trick that if we got writing by hand back in the school system, we could stop the indoctrination of children. If people everywhere picked up a pen and paper and started writing, they would be able to write out their fear, their trauma, their grief, their guilt, whatever it is that's immobilizing them, and then add a solution. Because Mark told me too, voice no negatives without a solution. Not only did that keep me from just complaining about my past, but it forced me to think in new ways. After only following orders for 30 years, I had to learn to think for myself, to expand my thinking. And to think in terms of a solution opens more neuron pathways in the brain. So everyone everywhere can start to open those neuron pathways to overcome whatever they've had to deal with in life, to expand their thinking beyond controlled media's repetitive narrative, to lift themselves out of a pit of negativity that is imposed on us every day through social media, even. To be able to lift beyond that is one thing. So this information I've been speaking out on for 35 years has helped many survivors to heal. And yet so many of them would look at me and say, well, how can you smile after what you've been through? And it's because I know the truth. I know the victory. I know the magnitude of the resiliency of our body, mind, and spirit. I align with the divine within, and I stay aligned there. And it's such a pleasure to live in synchronicity with the miracles that unfold every day, to live in that divine flow where everything unfolds bigger and better than anything we could possibly imagine. Knowing that aspect has given me a joy in living, and makes me want to share the information on healing so everyone else can reclaim that joy, that birthright to live their life's purpose, just like I have. And so that's why I wrote Align with the Divine. It's a series of little short stories that remind people of these amazing aspects of our brain, that remind us all that these are ours to use at will. So many survivors, because they were blasted into the other parts of their brain, were studied by the CIA and used adversely for their intuitions, for their remote viewing, for their capacities that they have. So they just naturally dismissed it in their healing process as something evil, something bad, when in fact the brain function itself isn't bad. Just because bad people used it doesn't make it bad. Bad people invade and use parts of the brain that can heal the body and control things like heartbeat and breathing. They can use that. Imagine what we can do from within ourselves using the strength of the human spirit, our free will, and the infinite power of love. And all of a sudden, we can use these abilities to our advantage. Just because they were used wrong doesn't make them bad. And that's what people forgot. So many survivors shut off their heightened intuitions and heightened sensitivities when in fact, when we leave those open in the healing process, it gives us an ability to have more protection around us than what's normal, and it calms the overactive adrenal system. So many survivors of trauma, ritual abuse, even military, have the shell shock, where it's so jumpy all the time, because of the overactive adrenal system. Calm it down. Go ahead and use these beautiful other parts of our brain, because they're there for us in order to calm all that negative down and start attuning to the beautiful flow that life really is. It gives us clarity of thinking so that we can be effective in what we do going forward. So that's why I shared Align with the Divine, is so that survivors everywhere could realize that they have a potential of reclaiming joy, joy beyond belief, because we survived the impossible and we have all these extra capabilities, and it's phenomenal to be able to use it for good.
What does the word divine mean to you? The divine within.
The divine is some people could call it God. They could call it whatever it is that is our energy source. What is the source of who we are? That energy source. When we go within and find out who we are at the base core energy of our being, I found my energy as love. And love is the most powerful force in the universe. And love is the divine. It is whatever this amazing life we're living, whatever our creator is, however we want to define it, surpasses religious definition and limited perception when we look at it energetically and realize it's the most powerful force in the universe. And that powerful force is within us all. It's our saving grace. It's our victory. So the divine is our energy source. It's love.
I love that. That's a beautiful definition of it. Cathy, one of the things that you have done since the very beginning of your speaking out was to help create a network all over the place to help survivors, of some systemic abuse, systemic mind control, because it is a very specific form of healing that differs a little bit in some ways. And back then there was really no network that was, sort of there. But now this has changed over the years, thanks to people like you who've been out there beating the drum and teaching others. If someone is watching today who is a victim or is a survivor, where could they turn to today? What are some of the resources that you recommend?
I would definitely recommend going to my website at trance-formation.com and accessing PTSD Time to Heal. It's easy to self-apply because it's a reminder of our birthright to heal from within ourselves. I would advise survivors, which I had continue to do, healing is within us all. And we need to heal from within, free of outside input. Outside input from anyone, even well-intentioned therapists, intrudes on the brain, and the brain feels intruded on. So whether we accept it or not, the brain doesn't, and it keeps the neuron pathways shut down. We need to heal from within ourselves the way that we've been designed so that we can actually, get those neuron pathways open again. Mental health has been deliberately taught wrong. Like I mentioned, Mark Phillips found our birthright information on mind-brain function buried under national security. That means it was withheld very deliberately from mental health, from the medical community, from education and society as a whole. So the way that people have been taught in mental health since then is, in essence, to perpetuate victim mentality. If they're indoctrinated to indoctrinate and perpetuate the victim mentality, they don't even need to be ill-intentioned to do it. It's what they think they're supposed to do that they think might help, and it just doesn't. So there's a lot of bad therapy out there, good intentioned or not. Hypnotherapy is especially intrusive on the brain and won't allow the neuron pathways to open. People are turning to the internet to try to find out what's wrong with themselves. And when you look outside yourself, you're going to be led the wrong way. And artificial intelligence therapy, what? What? That is the most contrary thing I've ever heard of. But, some survivors don't understand what's going on with themselves, so they look to it. And ultimately, this network that has been forming is because the system is wrong. The system is erroneous. The whole mental health system has been deliberately structured wrong now for generations. And healing doesn't happen through the methods that we're told. Instead, we need to go within and apply the simple methods that Mark taught me. And this is especially important when we look at big pharma imposing drugs all the time to supposedly help with post-traumatic stress disorder or horrific abuse or the military or anything else. We don't want to repress memory further with drugs. We want to reclaim our brain function and be able to move forward in life with a full mental capacity, not dumbed down by pharmaceuticals. But pharmaceuticals have been creeping in on us for a long time and are a major part of mental health at this point. And so we need to be aware of that and beware of that. Don't do it. We don't need it. We just need good nutrition, plenty of rest, a nice quiet space, away from devices, away from noise and TV, and pick up that pen and paper and start writing out memory.
Cathy, I want to turn the page just a little. You have exposed the vastness too of these criminal networks and pedophile networks and abuse networks, and how on an industrial scale. You are also connected very well within various communities. What is happening in the capture of these criminal networks? Do you see that there is success there? Are they being brought down? Or is this decreasing at all?
Absolutely, it is, but not in a way that I think people expect to see it. Let's take the Epstein files as a good example. That's a horrific abuse that's been going on my whole life. I was trafficked at the Epstein Island of its time, Mackinac Island, Michigan, when I was a little bitty toddler, and the blackmail videos that went on there were being kept in vaults because these perpetrators don't trust each other either. So they hold each other by the blackmail, so to speak. They meet in secret to decide our fate and carry out the perversions in the process, and those perversions are filmed. So the Epstein files, people think, well, we should see some justice on this. Let's just get the list and arrest people. Well, even if we did arrest all the criminals, we do not have a justice system to prosecute them through. Our justice system has been corrupted and taken over by this globalist agenda, and it's going to take some time to restore justice to that system. So we take something like the Epstein files, and that can be like a thread that can be used to unravel this whole globalist agenda. There's so much information that's packed in there beyond what people perceive. If we had that file, for example, it's got the perpetrators, it's got the victims, it's got people who became whistleblowers, all on the same list. And with the snap judgment of today, people aren't taking time to discern, who is who and what's what. We also can't use the blackmail. That's the method that they use. Playing their game isn't going to help at all. We don't want to sink to their level. So there's got to be something more clever we can do. And that's to take the information and start pulling that thread and unraveling the whole tapestry. That's going to take some time. And it's not easy for people to fully understand the magnitude of how deeply rooted this corruption is. They can read my 1995 testimony for Congress, Transformation of America. National security was invoked on it because every word in it is true. Every perpetrator named is true. When it was released in 1995, it seemed prophetic. It said who was going to be placed in the office of president. And that's exactly how it unfolded, because the elections have been rigged since the inception of electronic voting machines to put these perpetrators in key positions of power. And that was well known then. So that was detailed in Transformation of America. Now, time has proven it all, and people can read it like a history book. And it is also a roadmap of where the roots of corruption are planted. Access denied for reasons of national security tells Marx in my journey through the corrupted system to free my daughter of the so-called child protective services human trafficking operation and get her out of that system. And it shows too where roots of corruption are planted, and it will give people some insight into how deeply rooted this mess is. While we've got an administration in place right now that is determined to unravel this mess, it's going to take a lot of time. And there's a lot of children who have been trafficked, who are being rescued, that can't wait for the system to clean up. They need us to take action. They need people to take that responsibility and make the difference themselves, because ultimately it is up to us. It's going to be a long time for government to clean up, if ever, on some of it, so it's up to us to start governing ourselves, reclaim our free thought, expand our thinking, face the reality that we share this planet with dark negative energy force that is assaulting our children. They're raping them, they're harvesting them at tremendous numbers, and we've got to open our eyes to it in order to stop it and protect our children going forward. It's up to us. So these networks are starting to form of people helping people, opening safe houses for the survivors, and applying effective healing, which means a safe place, a pen and a paper, a crayon and a paper, whatever. Just start drawing out the trauma, writing out the memory. And so we have an ability for people to help each other, but it's a network that's just now starting to form, while still there's a lot of people who are saying, release the Epstein files now. Hey, it's like, it's not that simple. It's too deep.
People tend to, like you said, snap judgment, and there's also this tendency to see everything black and white. Something is either just good or just bad, and that's it. And you are continually in contact with people that are in government organizations and non-government organizations, sort of working together. And there's some high level people who not only know of you, but know you very well, know your story, and have have given you their word that they're going to do everything they can to help bring this down, bring this to light. And so there are things happening. Is there anything you can point to that you know of that sort of would give people a little bit of a discerned view that what they see on a screen might not represent the whole truth? It just might be one little aspect of it.
Oh, absolutely. Well, there are people helping people right now. And when President Trump went in, he told us that he's given power back to we the people. Most of the people don't even know what that means. It means it's up to us to start reclaiming our free thought, get out in our communities, talk to each other, eye to eye, heart to heart, soul to soul. Get writing back in the school system in your little community. Restore some justice in your area. It's up to us to start making that difference. And there's so many good people that are empowering and inspiring others to make that difference, to realize the obstacles that have been in our way now for generations have been removed. So we can help each other. We're not going to be arrested by the FBI for going into the school system to protect our children now. It's different. We're able to stand up and make that difference without fear of that kind of retaliation. So people are doing it. We've got like America's Future, that is a phenomenal project with the Defend and Protect Children's Project that Mary Flynn O'Neill is running to empower people everywhere to work outside the system to effectively help these children and keep them out of that corrupt system, because there are positive things happening. America's Future, their attitude is, Local action has national impact. It's empowering people to take action locally. And it does have national impact, which has global impact. And it's happening. But it starts with each and every one of us to go within ourselves and find what it is that we can do to make that powerful, necessary change. I have had the luxury and latitude of meeting Tom Holman, who is he was the ICE director, and now I think they call him Border Czar or whatever. And media wants to portray him as some big something evil, and he's like a big old teddy bear. I've met him on several occasions, and the last time when I saw him, he assured me that when President Trump got back in office, that we were going to stop this problem at the border and stop the trafficking once and for all. And he hugged me with tears streaming down his face. That great big man that everybody perceives so tough is just so soft and compassionate and loving and genuinely cares about the children. We've got people in positions of power and influence right now that genuinely care. I met President Trump. Wow. Politically, I don't agree with him on everything, but I don't have to, because we all need to think free on absolutely everything instead of, following people, because people are people. That means, they're fallible. But I'll tell you what, that was a soulful experience meeting President Trump. He's kind, compassionate. He's knows the plight of the children. He's adamantly opposes MK Ultra. Mind control, always has. He stands for the freedom of the people, and is very kind and warm to me, which is just absolutely phenomenal after all the so-called global leaders I've met in the past and how horrible they all are. It's good to meet one that's actually a human being with compassion for humanity and good intention. He's also extremely intelligent, like, whoa, I can't even begin to stretch to reach that kind of intelligence, but I don't have to. I see where it's emanating from. And that's a beautiful thing. When we've realized that we've got good people doing their part, we need to do ours, because they can't do it by themselves. It's not up to them to live our lives for us. It's up to us to start living our own lives and making the difference. It's up to us to start governing ourselves. We need to downsize government dramatically so that, we can live freely and restore constitutional values of freedom and justice for all. But it begins within each and every one of us, remembering who we are, why we're here, gathering the strength of the human spirit, and then educating ourselves with sufficient information to be able to make the positive, necessary changes that we need to see in our world.
I think it's very, very interesting to hear your personal story. That's your true experience with meeting some of these, including the president, some of these high level people, and where their heart is when it comes to a subject that concerns us all. Like, the children, nobody's not included in that subject. Nobody's children are not included in that. They're all our children. And that has been something that when you shared it with us privately, it's one thing that I just really was relieved to hear, that there is something happening in that regard. Like you said, politics is something different altogether. We don't need to talk about it. It's
Right.
it's
Right.
a dark it's a dark cesspool as a
Yep.
thing. One interesting thing that's going to happen this year, Cathy, in September, you are traveling to the UK and you're going to be reunited on stage with your dear friend and our dear friend, David Icke. But you guys have known each other for 30 plus years. You started speaking out at the same time. He came up as an author and speaker. And I know that you were instrumental, in his journey for understanding this incredibly huge problem of MK Ultra and child trafficking and so forth. So how is that, and what has happened in between? Have you guys stayed in touch, and do you look forward to being on stage together again?
It's going to be so fun. It's been a long time since we've been on a stage together. Um, we met in 1996 when he had released his book Robots Rebellion, and Transformation of America was out, and we happened to be speaking at the same event. And he said, "You're like a manifestation of my book," because that was what the Robots Rebellion was all about, was breaking free of the matrix, breaking free of the mind control. And we became very good friends immediately. And it's something that we maintained throughout the years, a good friendship. And it's been it's been almost 30 years now since we've spoke together on a stage and shared the same stage. So yeah, we're going to be doing the GSIC conference in UK September 10th, 11th, and 12th, and we're going to be reunited on stage for the first time in all these years, and we're both excited about it. We're already talking about it, promoting the event, and looking forward to that opportunity to share a stage and truth together, and the friendship that we've had all these years.
That is exciting. I can't wait to see you guys on stage together,
Yeah.
and the beautiful truth you will share, and the not so beautiful truth also. What is coming up for you here in the United States? Where can people see you, or do you have any live events coming up?
I have quite a few different events that I'm working in. People can go to my website, trance-formation.com, and go to the events part and see where I'm going to be and come and join us. It's phenomenal. I'm especially excited to be working with ARC, the Association for the Recovery of Children, which is empowering communities to stop the child sex trafficking, to stop human trafficking, how they can effectively go about it. This is such an effective training course that many law enforcement agencies attend these training, especially sheriff's departments and all like that. So I'm real excited to get to be part of that. I've been honored for the healing that I have, the absolute healing where I'm not triggered back in, and nobody can manipulate me in any way. And I've got the knowledge that's my defense against mind control for sure. So my voice is respected for the healing information that I'm able to bring forward, and being part of the art training is such an honor and such a privilege. It's like getting to take all the methods that Mark taught me forward to help others. I spoke at a Rev 17 event that was just absolutely phenomenal in Yuba City with with Pastor Dave out there. They were raising money to open a safe house for the children, and that's continuing. The project's extreme success. The awareness has risen, the actions being taken. And I was especially excited about that because it's happening in a church. Finally, churches aren't just preaching something, they're doing something about it, and that was a real exciting thing for me to get to be part of, and know that the healing methods that Mark taught me can be used to help the children that are being helped there. But there's so many different groups all across the nation, and I encourage people, just check my website. I'm putting more and more of them up every day as they unfold, and I'm so excited to get to be a part of them.
Cathy, you also have a locals community,
Yes.
which is a wonderful way to keep up with you and to support your work, which I think is very important. Please hop over to Cathy's website, where it also links to her locals
Yes.
community, and you can sign up there, support her work. And then your books are not just written for survivors; they're written for everyone.
Yes.
And sort of the first books you wrote were just flat out awareness about the subject and the incredible amount of detailed information, like Transformation of America and Access Denied, are literally like on every researcher's bookshelf. It's like I would say a standard if you want to understand what's happening. But then the other books, PTSD, A Time to Heal, Resolutions, and Align with the Divine, these are all books for everyone. There's not books just for survivors, right?
Right. Everybody everywhere needs it. This is a traumatic planet. and
No kidding.
and the mind manipulations have been extreme. So we need to all be able to rise above them and reclaim our free thought, realize how we've been manipulated. I speak to so many groups of doctors who are livid that they were indoctrinated to promote big pharma instead of actually help patients. And they're wanting to not only reclaim their free thought, but to be able to use medicine in the real holistic way going forward. I speak to groups of teachers who are livid that they were indoctrinated to indoctrinate the children in the school system, and they don't want that. They want to be able to empower the children to think free again, to be able to teach them how to think rather than what to think. And seeing people from all walks of life having these massive groups that I'm speaking to, there's no limit to how far-reaching the effects of this dark agenda have gone, and people are wanting the truth now. And like I said, even in the churches, they're disgusted with what's been going on. We see what happened with Turning Point USA, the infiltration there with Mind War, General Valey and Michael Aquino. What? The whistleblowers are coming forward, and people are daring to speak out because the realization is hitting everyone that we have been manipulated in every sacred aspect of our lives. And it's time we take it back. And it begins with free thought. It begins with free will, soul expression, aligning with the divine within, gathering the strength of spirit and infinite power of love, and doing your part. We're all here for a reason. What an amazing time to be alive.
Cathy, you are one of the most inspiring people I've ever met, and it's such an honor to know you, to call you my friend, and thank you for shining your light so beautifully and for bringing truth and love to every conversation. No matter how dark the underlying truths are, your light always shines brightly, and that is so important for so many people who are on their own journey. Where can people find your books? Where can they purchase them? And if someone's out there who says, hey, I love this, I have the means, maybe they can order 50 or 100 copies and give them to their friends and family. That's also possible. How can people do that?
Oh, that is great. Through my website, trance-formation.com, TRANCE-formation.com. All my books are secured there. There's links there too to the Audible books. I read all my books for Audible myself to preserve the integrity of information, because not only is truth censored these days, it's diluted. And free ebooks of my testimony for Congress, Transformation of America especially. Free ebooks are posted all over the internet with the information altered to promote the globalist agenda and to further mind control. So, be careful where you go for information. Always research further, go direct to the source. And that's why, I've got all my books available there. Healing packets. I've got PTSD Time to Heal secured there with a pay what you can if you can option in ebook form. So everybody everywhere can have it now, regardless of income. And for those who can't leave a money trail, they still can get that healing information and start applying it. So it's all secured there. Plus a lot of blog posts. I write a lot of articles that apply to today so that people understand what in the world they're seeing and coping with. So all of it's right there on trance-formation.com.
Cathy O'Brien, thank you so much for this conversation. It's, of course, an open invitation as always. We'd love to have you back soon. And until then, just thank you for shining your light. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Inspired Tribe, thank you so much for tuning in. You know, we love you. We appreciate you, and we'll be back with you again very, very soon. Your environment shapes everything, your thoughts, your health, your energy. But most people never question the invisible field they live in. We did, and that's when FLFE found us. It's not a product, it's a field of pure life force energy that lifts everything it touches. We now live in it 24/7, and we would love to invite you to experience it too. Start your free 15-day trial now. No pressure, no strings attached. Just the truth, resonance, and peace.